Hello everyone, good morning. I am once again live, but this time I'm on my phone. So I hope this will work out much better for those of you that had trouble hearing me, seeing me, and I also had trouble from the back end. As I said, it's so complex for me. For some reason, I had a lot of trouble adding Rowena, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it here. All right, so welcome to the third month of March, third month of 2022. I was sharing before, if anyone here is watching and you're a yoga teacher that's trying to be online or a professional that's online, well, I really recommend not going for perfection. Rather go with the flow and work it out as you go, because it's really hard to be on top of things when it comes to technology, because they're changing it all day, every day, right? They're trying to better the systems every day, every week. There's something new. So it's okay to make mistakes on using these platforms. So I've come online today to actually check in with the Seva Yoga tribe and bring on also a Seva Yogini. Her name is Rowena, and she's a regular practitioner at Seva. And we wanted to just be online and live. We're going to share this with our internal community as well as a newsletter. We're just basically here to check in on each other and start a conversation about how are you going this month, what's happening. So let's get in touch with the pulse of things as it's happening. All right, so let's say right now, as we are in the first week of March, I was saying before that first week of March brought with it a new moon, just day before yesterday, through till yesterday. Then it brought in the Mahashivratri as well. And then after that, we have now started autumn, right? And as you notice that there's this flooding going on, there's lots of rain happening, lots of gloominess in the sky. So all of this is, creating our environment. And of course, not to forget the war that is broken out in the other side of the world from us. So that's why it's important for us to actually converse. Being yoga practitioners and being on a spiritual path actually calls for, talking about it and exposing what might be the case with everyone. So, Rowena, do you mind chatting, like putting something in the chat box again, and then I can actually invite you, it says. Okay, or, oh, here we go, add. Got it. So I'm actually going to add you now. Hopefully that will work. Hi, yes, I've added you. See if you can see my request. Okay, so it's still adding you. So there's a lot going on this month, and I feel like, there's not much dialogue going on about it, and perhaps it's sort of a lack of ability to have healthy conversations about certain situations, right? These situations that we're going through as a globe, as a global community. So back when the pandemic started, we went into lockdown. There was quite a lot of politically charged and emotionally charged topics that we were all kind of tippy-toeing around. And I noticed, especially in the spiritual community, there's not much talk about what and how we can handle it, mentally, emotionally, and relationship-wise. So it feels like it's actually, I feel like, yeah, I'm not resonating with that. As a teacher of spirituality, grounded spirituality, as a teacher of Ayurveda and yoga, I felt it was my responsibility to invite healthy conversation about um, you know, allowing ourselves to share where we stand on all of this, how we're feeling about it, and that's it. That's all it takes, because I'm sure most of you have children, and children are quite affected by this, whether we know it or not. And when children don't have a way to converse about it, they internalize it. Actually, they actually don't get a chance to process it, and it's up to us adults to normalize these conversations. Now, that might not have been a part of your upbringing. It certainly wasn't mine. It's something that I've had to learn along my journey. And some of you might know I've started coaching for that reason, because and my coaching journey started quite, like, transformational coaching journey started quite recently, which is a chance to actually hold space for these kinds of conversations, instead of just taking the safe spot and saying nothing, and everything is a taboo, so to speak. Yeah, so bring Rowena on camera. Are you there? Technology. Yeah. And so let's talk about what's happening this month. At Seva, you can enroll into the teacher training programs. These are teacher trainings. I don't teach them just for you to become full-time yogis, because that's not sort of the realistic approach to yoga. We need more yogis in our community, and we need more people that will be able to assist in the society to go through what we are going through. But firstly, it's about ourselves and having some good baselines in mental health and some practices that actually lead us to good mental health. So that's the design of my programs. Uh, when we talk about yoga and mental health, we're really talking about what sort of practices do you have in place? You know, it all boils down to what practices do we have in day-to-day life. There you are, after such a
Hi.
long try.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, everyone at Seva Yoga too.
Yeah, welcome online, Rowena. It's lovely to have you this morning. I was
Thanks.
just
Lovely to be here.
Yeah. I was just wrapping up. I was just sharing about the need for more yogis in the community for now, because of all the stuff that's happening around the world. And this is gonna keep going. So I just want to wrap up what I was saying before I was bringing you on. Um, it's all in line with what the theme is. It's we're just checking in. How are you? I mean, I think with everything that's going on, there's a lot of confusion going on at the moment, with the mandates being removed from some countries. Then there is the Ukrainian war, and then we have had new moon. Then we've got autumn going on in Australia. So with all that's going on, a yoga practitioner is kind of the pillar of strength for their own community, in your family, in your workplace, for yourself, you know. And so all I want to say is that's where Seva stands. Seva stands for service. Seva means service, and service cannot be done if we are not serving ourselves, right? We can't look after others if we don't keep our own cup full. So, so on that note, how are you, Rowena? How are you going?
I'm okay. Thanks for asking. So initially, with what was happening in the world, I was shielding myself from the news because I felt like I needed a bit of a gap, from the 2-year pandemic that we've been in, until there was a story I encountered, and maybe we can, if you want, we could talk a little bit more about it. So when I heard about the Ukrainian woman walking up to the Russian soldiers and saying something about the sunflower seeds, that made a connection with me. I think the story of the woman, yeah, made an impact on me. And that's when I began connecting with what was happening in the world because my first reaction was to try and avoid it. What
Oh,
about you, Supriya?
thank you for saying that. Thank you for being so open and honest about it because for me, I don't know if I don't think I've ever shared it with my student community or in the yoga community, but only recently I've shared it that my great grandfather used to be a freedom fighter. So um, I have had to process a lot of, uh, I guess, war trauma quite
Mm.
recently because that became more conscious for me during the times, just the last 2 years, just acknowledging actually this is where I come from. And I was raised in during a war, actually. So we had civil war. So this time when it happened, it actually affected me in that way that I remembered what it was like as a child going through it. So I felt very affected by, the terror of it.
So do you think it has awakened something in you? The stories that you've heard from your elders in the family. That's what it sounds like to
Yeah, I
me.
think, yeah, look, that's what helped me. It actually has helped me acknowledge where I come from and how unnecessary right now it is that we go into war because there's always another way. That's what I think about it. So I wasn't avoiding the news, but it helped me actually acknowledge why I believe what I believe about war. We all talk about peace and why and all that. But actually having first-hand experience of having been there myself, I feel like, gosh, this is not what the future generation needs, and that's why that's the way I dealt with it. Just having a big realization on that, and yeah,
Yes, thanks for sharing that. And for those listening who are not aware of the sunflower story,
yeah.
a Ukrainian woman approached a Russian soldier and said, "What are you doing in my country? We did not invite you. Because you are an occupier, you are our enemies." And she said, "Take these sunflower seeds that I have." And it's a sunflower because that's the Ukrainian national flower. She said, "Put
Mm.
these in your pockets. So at least when you lay down here," she means that if you die on this land, at least sunflowers will grow. So yeah, that was very touching to me for many reasons. Firstly, because this was a woman standing up to a man, a civilian, an unarmed civilian standing up to a soldier, and a woman just calling it out, saying, "What are you doing here? We didn't invite you. You are an occupier, therefore you are our enemies." But then also ending it saying that seeds are, obviously a symbol of hope and growth, and saying, "Put these in your pocket, at least when you die, a sunflower will come out of the ground." So yes,
Isn't
until I
that
heard that
beautiful?
story, I was trying to avoid stories of the conflict, to be honest. But
Mm.
yeah,
Hmm. Well, beautiful, beautiful story. Actually, I saw that story on MSN or something, and she's so gutsy, right? It's so brave of her to do that. Yeah, but there's so much symbolism. Thank you for sharing that story. I think a lot of people need to hear that as well because there's I mean, war is a negative experience, and it's something that nobody wants to see. But part of our part of our upbringing has been to kind of not look at what's negative and always look at positive, you know. So still, there's positive and negative in the world, and I guess you found the positive anyway, right? So the sunflowers brought you closer to the story of Ukraine you were sharing.
Mm.
Yeah. And what have you felt so far about how have you dealt with it altogether? Like, do you feel, how do you feel?
As you've said a few minutes ago, we are in the first week of autumn. It's one day after the new moon, and particularly today, we've had very rainy weather, and the sun's come out a little bit. Yes. So, so I guess I'd like to think that, we all have these tools within us. So I try to keep a routine for myself because just for my personal preference, it keeps me, I don't know, happy, grounded, maybe just a little sense of security. So I work a full-time job. I prefer going into the office. I ride a bicycle, so that serves both as the gap between my house and my office. And also, it gives me my exercise. The fresh air clears my head. Even if it's raining, I wear a big raincoat. I feel like it's embarrassing, but yeah, it keeps me dry. It also keeps me in touch with literally with the weather that, I can't avoid the elements. So when it's raining, yeah, I accept that, the rain falls, the roads are cleared of debris, and also the water falling from the sky is also a symbolism of flowing emotions. So I try to take all of that in.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Wow. What I'm hearing is you just make the most of every day and all that you have got. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, so positive, so radiant. This is exactly the advice Ayurveda would give, because Ayurveda's mindset is abundance, abundance mindset. So just noticing everything about this moment and appreciating how it's impacting us, whether through a thought, uh, an emotion, and noticing how Mother Nature offers herself to support us through whatever we're going through. Um, it sounds amazing. It sounds like you're living it quite naturally. And with autumn, noticed you mentioned the rainy weather. Last year or the year before, I did a I did a recording with Haley. She asked me a few
Mm.
questions on emotional resilience and what Ayurveda had to say about it through these periods of rainy weather because it was affecting people's moods and emotions.
Mm.
And we're going to have to expect more of this through autumn into winter, right? That's how our seasons work. And we'll get more rainfall. So, how Ayurveda would suggest we dealt with it is, like you said, maintain a routine no matter what the outside world is doing. Maintain your personal routine. Like, have something that no matter what, rain, hail, or shine, you will do that feels good for you, right? That's one. And then also uh, appreciate that, we have had summer quite recently. And in summer, we did a lot of activities, like we were out and about and we moved around a lot. And this season has so much groundedness to offer to us, like we can do more of, we can cook differently, warming foods, we can enjoy different activities like maybe board games or reading books. It's easier to enjoy those activities, while this weather is happening. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, to add what you're saying, for autumn, it usually indicates like shedding away. Like if we think of the leaves on a tree, so gradually they turn red, yellow, red, orange, and then brown, and then they fall off. So I think with the season, it's something that we can think of and do ourselves. So perhaps we can, clutter clear our minds, our homes, our routines, even the news we take in, even the energy of what we read, etc. And one of the things that I'd like to do more often is to do that to my phone, because we don't realize, we think, honestly, we think we are close to our family and friends, our pets, but honestly, we are closest, probably, unfortunately, the most to our phone. It's always with us day and night. It's in close proximity. We interact with it daily. So it needs cleansing as well. We need to be mindful of the energy that we put inside the phone and what the energy that is coming out from the phone to us. Yeah.
Brilliant. What a great tip. Yes. In fact, these are routines that we can maintain with decluttering routines that we need to maintain as we are all in the digital age, right? Like computer,
Mhm.
USB drive, emails, everywhere, like all the information we consume. Actually, this is quite perfect because with the seasonal change that's happening, with the indoor activities that we do, meditation and yoga nidra, um, all of those slow practices can be actually made more prominent in our life quite easily. And as you mentioned, with decluttering what we put in our phone and what sort of apps we are running, you know, this is a perfect chance to actually download a lot more better apps that can support these lifestyle choices to do indoors, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think technology is great and it has helped us stay connected during some of the times that we couldn't meet in person. Um, but I think I was mentioning to you that as we head more into the future, technology has to have its own place, as in it's a great tool for us to educate ourselves with and find good resources to better our lives that is happening currently in the flesh, in the actual body, right? With your pet, with your family members, etc. And it'll happen. I think we are creatures of habit, and so we become habituated in a way. But suddenly, and Ayurveda and yoga both talk about it, that suddenly we feel cluttered, we feel bored, we feel like inundated with what's happened, and we let go. And we do that naturally. So we've got that intelligence in us. So hopefully, that will be the chance we get this autumn as well, getting closer to winter. So tell me, what has been your highlight this year so far? We're already in the first quarter.
Ah, well, yes, I shared a story that something recently happened to me, but I'll quickly summarize probably the last 12 months.
Yeah.
I celebrated a milestone birthday last year. I turned 5 decades old, and I
Young,
gifted
young.
myself. Yes, that's right. I gifted myself with a commissioned artwork. So now I have a little drawing that I keep with me. It's on my profile. I've had stickers made. I've recently had t-shirts and bags printed as well. So that made me really, really happy. And then I treated myself to a formal makeup lesson. And yeah, I love that. It's a skill that I took with me and I use almost every day. And then recently this year, I got a form of a birthday present because there's someone I worked with and someone I helped. I thought I helped a bit or as much as I could. And then his 3-year employment with our workplace has come to an end, and he's going to do something else. So he came into the office to say hello and goodbye, because with the new ways of working now, there's
Mhm.
with my department, there's only 2 out of 130 showing up to the office. So anyway, he came in, he said goodbye, and then he bowed down and touched my shoe. And I felt very touched. That's never happened to me. And I was, yeah, I was very, I was close to tears. I was a little bit overwhelmed. Yes, I was blown away by the sign of respect.
This is someone you mentored, you mentioned, right? The other
Yes,
day?
this is
Yeah.
someone I helped. And to be honest, I didn't realize how he viewed the help that I gave towards him.
Yeah. And this is, this is actually a sign of respect in the Indian culture when we are we see our teachers as next to God almost, so because they're a channel of knowledge, wisdom, and all that. And so anyone that helps us on our journey to, becoming better people, there is that sign of respect. And but at the same time, not to say that not all teachers deserve that, right? Because not all teachers put their heart and soul and light into the impact they have on you. So I do want to acknowledge you for that as well, because I know you personally. I wholeheartedly believe that that person, whoever had the chance to learn from you, would have definitely benefited. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. This is good.
Thank you, Supriya.
Yeah.
And
So,
if I could just
yeah.
mention my brief
Yeah.
journey with you. So several years ago, I first met you in a it was a laneway yoga. So it was a what do you call it? Sort of a one-time offer. And it was outside a coffee shop. We had tea tasting afterwards, and it was so much fun. At the time, you had a studio, and I wasn't able to attend. But then the universe brought us together right in my office building. So the office building decided to hold yoga lessons, and I decided to attend, and you were teaching. So I was really happy to see you again. And then you were starting up your studio, and I committed to attendance. I attended, I think, almost all the classes on offer. I attended regularly, you know that. And when you
Yeah.
switched to online teaching, I committed to joining that as well. And I only mention it because I view you as a teacher as well.
Yes, well, we have this beautiful exchange, thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I feel it in my heart. I'm honored. As you brought that up, in yoga teaching, or I've been in majority of my time I've been a yoga teacher, and then I started teaching Ayurveda as well, which has been a big blessing. Um, and what I find us on the journey of teaching is that it's, when the teacher is ready, the student appears, and when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? And I understood that because one of my teachers, Noah McKenna, had shared when I was training with him that, for him, the journey of teaching is all about emptying, right? Emptying what he has accumulated as wisdom and knowledge. He is just emptying and passing it on, because that's the teacher's role, or that's the thing we do in life. We are passing and paying it forward. So that's what this journey of yoga teaching and Ayurveda teaching is. And even looking after ourselves is also that, that I wouldn't be able to serve you or connect with you if I don't stay well and follow the thing myself. Do you know what I mean? So having you as a student, it's not something like it's a reciprocal journey. You know what I mean? And it's a really, really, um, rewarding journey because it's reciprocal. It's never one-sided that I'm only giving or you're only taking. No, it's always reciprocal. Like I always get something in it. Like there's so many other students that have been with me, and I feel like we're all friends on this journey. We're going through our journey together, and seem to have this information, and I share it with you, and then you take it on and pay it forward to somebody else,
Mm.
which is great. Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
just mention one more synchronicity from the universe? So last
Yeah.
year, I was somewhere looking for a cake shop, and then that was 12 months ago. We were still in the pandemic, obviously, and not a lot of people were going out. And as you know, there are a lot of people in Sydney, and Sydney is very large. But at that point in time and that place, I was somewhere and you just happened to be there. I thought it was incredible because Sydney is such a
Yeah.
big place. Yes,
Yeah.
so I was specifically looking for a birthday cake, and I said hello to you, and I felt really special because, yeah, I got to see you on my birthday.
Yes. Yes. That was amazing. And that
It was
cafe,
amazing.
yeah, that day, I think we just chose that place randomly as well. So it was never
Oh,
planned. Yeah, we just chose it randomly to sit down and have lunch. Yeah. So yeah, this journey is really rewarding. And I was just sharing about the way I offer my teacher training. It's like it's about the connection and also having that framework of practices that we do, not just know about. So though that's the kind of system at Seva Yoga. It's like there's yoga is such a vast thing, it's a vast science. It's larger than any ocean we know, because everything has something to learn about it. So the best starting point is start, learn the fundamentals, and then keep building on whatever flowers from that you know the the flowering can happen once we set the foundation, and then after the foundation we go a step further and learn how to connect to information that we're finding, and then let that flower bloom. Like our flower is within us, and that flower blossoms. For it to blossom, we have to give it stability. We have to water it every day. And so most of us, uh, women and men and women, that are at the stage of life where we do have our jobs, where we do have our missions, and we have our other responsibilities. um, Yoga in our lives is that system that supports our blossoming, as be it a parent, a partner, a co-worker, because that system acts as a stabilizer. Like no matter what happens, I will have my practice to fall back on. You know what I'm saying? And that confidence, that's a confidence builder. You build
mhm.
confidence in yourself, um, because a lot of things are everything is temporary, right? Everything is coming and going all the time. So what I've learned throughout teaching yoga is like one of the things, the fundamental benefits of education on the yogic journey. The education actually is for having access to a system that you can have confidence in. It's not just text. It's not
Mhm.
just, uh, and what's coming to my mind is like, how I've grown up knowing about yoga versus what I do now as a teacher. Because as a child, I grew up around yoga, but I never looked at it as something I would ever do seriously, or
Yeah.
take on as a career. No way. Because it was like a
Yeah.
system which looks at like I said, the culture in India is like the teacher is like a god, and yoga teacher is
Mm,
like, oh my god, out of this world, out of approach. You don't even think about approaching it
mm.
because the work is so large. Yeah.
I think you specialize in connecting the modern world with the ancient world
Yeah.
as well of yoga. And with what you were saying, that yoga is a practice, it's a way of life. On my journey, I have been in sort of formal classes for 22 years. So I have my small 10-minute daily practice. I could choose to go on and practice by myself if I wanted to, but I still acknowledge that there is constant learning from a teacher, and it is different practicing with a group of people, even if it's online nowadays. It
Mm-hmm.
feels different to me to sit down and meditate together with a group of people, and the energy feels different when we do the hatha yoga poses. So and also because you acknowledge that nowadays probably people just can't easily connect with the ancient wisdom offered by yoga. It has to be tailored for our modern world, just like exactly what we're doing now. We're on Facebook Live saying hello to our friends watching, and yeah, and trying to make a connection the modern way.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Exactly. And so just to wrap it up, is, yoga, what we knew of it and how it evolved now, you know, it is the only and one and only tool that is there for having that self confidence that, if everything is taken away from me, I know how to find myself. And how I do that, it's not through the mind, it's through the practices. Because is the mind is a product of what we learn and what we do. It's a record playing, but it's the practices that help us separate ourselves from the mind and come into the no mind, become more of a empty vessel. And that's what yoga says, that is the true self, the peace that we are. So, I mean, there's more to this. We can do more chats on this later, but all it is that yoga for the modern day doesn't mean that yoga gets dismissed, but it has to translate somehow. Otherwise, why practice yoga in the first place? There's no reason, right? Then it's
Mhm.
just gymnastics or it's just exercise. But yes, it is translated into our way, how we converse about things. And this is why I actually proposed we have a chat online today, is because being a yoga practitioner, we are following a philosophy which talks about self awareness, talks about um, abundance, talks about looking at life and examining life and our beliefs, etc. And there's merit in talking about world affairs and having safe conversations. Like, you hear what I have to say, I hear what you have to say, and let's leave it at that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So these are practices that yoga encourages, but perhaps it doesn't get translated so easily because there is an understanding of yoga from the olden days that it is just to be practiced this way, which is eyes closed, sit down, and do nothing but meditate, But actually, yoga as a practice creates a completely different human who is more awake than probably most other people, awake and engaged as well as detached, which is a skill, right? So, really want to thank you for coming on today and sharing your beautiful
Thank you.
energy and smile and presence.
Thank
Because
you for having me on.
no, you're welcome. I mean, it's been a pleasure. And I will put this recording on our site. And yeah, well, have a really lovely day today. The sun is
You
out.
too, and everyone watching.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for coming online and being a part of this live. And leave us a comment, say hello to Rowena, say hello, share your thoughts about what you're going through at the moment. This is an open, safe place to share how you're doing this month, because that was the whole point of us coming online and just saying, how are you? It's March. There's a lot going on. And how can we support you? Please do reach out, and happy to hear from you and support you in any way we can. All right. Checking out for now. Take care. Hari Om. Tat Sat.
Bye.